You mentioned that you started when you're a starter rather than a manager, and that's what you prefer to do. Wow, how would you say, and what would you say was the most challenging aspect of building out a data science team in Cape Town, seeing as you've had many experiences doing that over the years, and most recently, obviously, with Rulaland?
I would say recruiting is really the most difficult thing to get like people who, so the market changed a bit. So when we, like 5 or 6, 7, maybe even 10 years ago, if you were a data scientist, you'd get a job immediately. It was like, okay, cool, you've got your job. Yeah, you studied it, here's your job. Where now it shifted a bit, where as a junior data scientist, you have to work a bit harder. You have to, like, you're in a more of a competitive market. Also, it not necessarily, because if you've got the right skills, you'll definitely get the job. But there are so many people at the moment advertising themselves as data scientists, and jobs out there that describes themselves as data science jobs, which it really isn't. Which means that it takes a lot of energy and effort to filter through people who does tick the tools and expertise that you'd want, especially at the junior level, where you're getting people coming out of institutions, and then you need to build trust in these institutions, build in that the people that comes through them has the right skills in order to take on a proper job. So I would definitely say recruitment has become quite a tricky thing because of the vagueness of data science.
Yeah, and amongst all the fluff and, like, obviously all the I guess the ambiguity within the definition of the role itself in the market, what's the most prominent and what's the best practice tools and like techniques that you use to filter that? Like, I mean, what have you found most effective in your experience?
I feel Python is definitely, look, so a lot of people can code in Python, but conducting a proper Python test is for me almost the most important one. So typical questions you'd find in like a computer science course rather than a data science or a analytics course. So perhaps just like reverse an array, that kind of things. Python questions just to get them going. HackerRank has really cool questions and where you can choose Python, and so using HackerRank as a nice template of questions and difficult problems to solve with Python functions. I feel that if a person is sufficient in Python, I feel the rest comes quickly. I mean, SQL, I feel, is something I can teach anybody. Not anybody, but like to a big extent, I can teach you SQL. You don't need to be the best SQL developer to be the best data scientist, or you just need to understand SQL. Where within Python, I mean, there it becomes tricky because now we're looking at background, but you'd always want to ask, that the Titanic problem on Kaggle, that's a nice one that I typically give people, especially junior people, to go do as a take-home project. So I just go like, you can use all the resources you want to, which means you can basically copy and paste this project if you want to. But that's a really nice one for me, because there you've got like a lot of thinking. You've got the data analysis, you've got the data wrangling or data prep, you've got a machine learning problem, you've got a how do we measure this machine learning problem? Like, are we going to use just accuracy? How does the person think? Are we using ROC curve? How is this person actually thinking about data science? And also the insights that it just generates in the start. Like, cool, there's a lot of fields. There's a y-axis being whether a person died or not on Titanic. Just looking at what kind of insights is this person bringing. It's like a really nice project there that I like to give a person. If they can, out of that, you get to see a lot about the person's or the candidates, how hard this candidate is willing to break down a project.
Awesome stuff. Yeah, that's really interesting, and I guess the guys can unpack that, like the technical side of that question. I'm sure Jibola would like to know a bit more, as do I. But I just really wanted to not to put you on the spot, and obviously you have a bit of bias from the Stellenbosch history and studying at Stellenbosch. I know the universities are very competitive in the Western Cape. Where would you say the best candidates come from in your experience using the sample group that you've been exposed to so far?
Yeah. That is good. So I mean, yeah, naturally, I do trust a Stellenbosch University graduate. But I mean, I would typically say, like, when I look at the pool of people that I typically get to see is University of Harare. So there's like a strong Zimbabwean element that comes through in South Africa, where you've got like serious Zimbabweans coming through the ranks to come do data science. It's obviously a neighboring country, South Africa, for Zimbabwe, so it's an easy move for them to go there. And then I would say there's a nice long tail education and recruitment company in South Africa called We Think Code. That's like a nice grooming session for the guys, because it's not data science, but they go deep. They go into, like, they start with C and they go through web development and everything. So you just get like a well-rounded junior person coming through We Think Code. That's a really nice one. And then, yeah, the universities do deliver. Not all of them. I do find, for instance, and that's something I feel PhD people need to look out for, is that your PhD graduates, when they start working, they tend to have a lot of attention to detail, and taking that super academical knowledge that they've got and translating that into the workplace very often leads to their initial year or two adapting to the pace and going, like, telling themselves, like, okay, but you don't have to have you don't have to have this 100% project. Like, the company would like to get something out in 1 month or in 2 weeks, and we don't have 6 months to build this thing. So I do love a PhD student because they come with a lot of knowledge, but like I like this, like, so it's such a broad thing, as I mentioned, from like long tail recruitment and education platforms all the way to like university. There's value and resources to be extracted because they all get to teach very different. They all get learned different ways of approaching the problem, and a lot of times you do need your practical guys to come in first and really help, like, build out the infrastructure, build the stuff before you get your very big academical guys to come do like deep machine learning research, if that answers the question.
Yes, indeed, it really does. Emmanuel and Jibola, do you guys have anything to add to that, I guess, from the gradient boost side?
So my question is, do you have any bias between academic people who came to the traditional channels from university and people who are self-taught or came through a data science bootcamp, for example? Is there a particular bias that you have towards either of those?
Yeah, that's a good question. Not really. It really depends what role I'm applying for. Not applying, hiring for. So when I want somebody who can hit the ground running, I do like the bootcamp style guys more. They've got a lot of theory to typically catch up on in the long run, but they typically, like, they come on, they join your company, they know all their tools from a junior point of view. They know all their tools. They've done stuff. They've been around the block. A person who's had a good internship is always a great one as well. I like to also give internships because I think it gives you, like, if you can commit to like 3 months or 6 months of internship, you like, then as the hiring manager, I've got first dibs on a potential star in the making when it comes to data science. So it really depends. I think what happens is your university people will come in earlier on your pure data science and machine learning engineer side, where the boot camp and external people comes in through a more practical, okay, cool, you're going to help me code, but you could, like, let's go data analytics, data engineering, data science, like they're more broadly groomed for the job. So it's typically easier to start off with a person like that and then move to the university person, but both really have their roles. Both have their positions in an initial team, and I feel as the guys improve and evolve in their careers, they cross over and everything's for everyone. But from a junior point of view, like just graduate, I would say that the boot camp, like, I don't know if you know the company Springboard, which I feel is a lot like Gradient Boost in a way. Like if you've got your Springboard guys, they typically already proven that they can do hands-on work, and that makes it really easy to integrate them into the workplace.